The year is 1988, and Tokyo is destroyed with a nuclear weapon. That is our little bit of backstory that we are given as we are introduced to Neo Tokyo and the story of Akira, a sci-fi action movie anime from Japan from the year 1988. And so in the story, the year is now 2019 in Neo Tokyo. Akira does an amazing job of hitting that delta of being a story with a message while also being an incredibly important style statement and genre-defying art that has gone on to define science fiction films, anime, and the newer genre of cyberpunk. One of the biggest characters of the film itself is the setting of Neo Tokyo. The infinite number of office buildings and neon lights and holograms that dot the background of this film is a character in and of itself. It is over-consuming information, sort of a sign of what the future is going to bring. In the background of meeting Haneda and his gang in Tetsuo, we see that society is starting to fray at the seams. Obviously, with there being biker gangs patrolling Neo Tokyo, that obviously is not a great sign of a society, but also the fact that there seems to be a lot of political strife in the world at this time. There's a massive protest among students over what the government is doing. And so obviously they're trying to give the impression that it is turbulent times. But Haneda and Tetsuo and the gang don't really care about that. They just want to get revenge on the clown biker gang that they have a rivalry with. And so that leads us into one of the best action scenes of the movie, which is the biker gang fight between Haneda's gang and the clown bikers, and also gives us one of the most iconic and copied shots in cinematic history, which is the shot of Haneda stopping on his motorcycle. A classic shot that has been copied from other science fiction movies to The Simpsons to Adventure Time. It's been copied all over the place. Before we get too far into the analysis, if you wouldn't mind liking the video and subscribing to the channel and considering supporting me on Patreon, it would go a long way to helping me make more of these videos. Thank you. This fighting with the bikers leads into a run-in with a strange child who's being carried away by a strange man, and the man is shot and killed, but then the government comes to grab the strange child, and then also they see that there's something that they like about Tetsuo, and so they also take Tetsuo as well. The rest of the story expands to a larger narrative between Tetsuo discovering these superpowers that he has and Haneda and the gang trying to save Tetsuo and figure out what is truly going on while helping a group of supposedly terrorists but also freedom fighters against the government. And as we come to learn, the nuclear blast that destroyed Tokyo in 1988 wasn't actually a nuclear blast. It was something that happened to a boy named Akira. Akira has this connection to these super children that the government so desperately wants to have and to control. And they've discovered that Tetsuo is in the same spot as these children. He has these powers that are difficult to control but have immense power to them. And obviously, being a government and the scientists, they want to be able to control that power and be able to study it and harness it. And while the scientists think that they can control this, the government wants to harness this power to use for their own ends. The colonel of the film, who we meet throughout the story, sees that this power is in a lot of ways uncontrollable. It is a power that we don't fully understand, and in a lot of ways it's better that we don't mess with it. A wisdom that the scientists and the government doesn't seem to have. The metaphor here is obviously that these children represent weapons of mass destruction, such as the nuclear weapon. And the message of the film, obviously, is that this power is scratching the surface of the nature of the universe that we don't fully comprehend and we can't fully control. And it is foolish for the government to try and harness it for their own ends. At the end, we see the destruction and horror that this uncontrollable power has when Tetsuo reaches full power. In the wisdom of the children, instead of reckoning with it, they decide that this power is too great for the world and trap themselves in their own universe, which becomes the size of an atom, sort of like a reverse nuclear bomb. This is sort of the closing of the Pandora's box that was opened originally in 1988 with the nuclear explosion that destroys Tokyo. And the message of this film is a couple of different things, the main one being anti-weapons of mass destruction. It's pretty obvious the Japanese have a reason to be anti-weapons of mass destruction, considering they had a nuclear bomb dropped on them at the end of World War II. But the way they say it is very nuanced and not throwing blame against like America for dropping it. They sort of acknowledge that if the Japanese had a nuclear weapon or a weapon of mass destruction, they would use it to their own ends as well. And it is a matter of the fact that we have to know that we're not to be trusted with that level of destruction. We don't fully understand it, and we don't fully respect the gravity of the power that is within that weapon of mass destruction. And the other message of the film is that for a new world to truly be born, the old world needs to die. What is sort of happening with Neo Tokyo is it is a new world trying to be rebuilt by the old world. And that's where all the issues with Neo Tokyo come from, as is mentioned throughout the movie. And even the teenagers see themselves as different from the 25-year-old officer that they get interrogated by. There's a sort of generational divide even then, because they are not part of this system. They are outsiders looking in, while the 25-year-old has been fully assimilated into the system, and he's a cog working in this corrupt machine that is all of Neo Tokyo. And obviously the destruction at the end of the movie is somewhat of a clean slate to hopefully lead to a better and brighter future for a new Tokyo run by the new generation. Thanks for listening to my analysis of Akira. If you enjoyed the video, it'd be great if you could like it and subscribe to the channel and consider supporting me on Patreon. It goes a long way to making more of these videos. Thank you.